Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This is a special video, but about a year ago I started my YouTube channel, and so far I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody else who has subscribed and who follows the content along. I honestly started this channel because I already do all this stuff anyway. It's not that, I wanted to start a new hobby and document it or anything like that. It was literally, I already do this. And a friend of mine just said, why don't you just record yourself doing it? Because I'm sure people will be interested. And it turns out you guys are interested. So again, I can't thank you enough for your support. Hopefully the channel keeps growing. So I thought today what I'd do is show you one of my custom guns in my collection. I initially thought I'd celebrate this with doing a review of my complete collection. But I thought I'd do something a bit different this time and save that for a more important milestone. So today we thought we'd just look at this instead. So this is a PTS, otherwise known as KWA, Mega Arms Maten 308 AR-15. This is obviously a gas blowback. It's a bit more custom than you tend to see them though. Usually the Maten is about out here, lengthwise, possibly even a little bit longer. It has quite a large stock on the back of it as well. And yeah, it's more of a DMR. And you can see that from the fire selector here. We can see we have safe, semi, and burst. So yeah, this is not a full auto item. And yeah, I just thought I'd talk you through what I've done to it and give you a little bit of a, review about what I think of the Maten. So, as I've said, this has been customised quite heavily. I have shortened it considerably. The factory Maten actually does have a join in the outer barrel, which is about here, I think it is. And it's threaded on, so it's a threaded extension. I actually wanted it shorter than that, so what I have actually done is I've had spun this up in the lathe and rethreaded to be able to put the flash hider on here. And this isn't the original flash hider, this is an aftermarket item. But I did mean I had to cut the rail down, so the rail had to be shortened. You can see I had to cut quite a lot off of it. And stock-wise, I'm just running a fixed sort of brace, if you like, rather than an extendable tube stock. Because I really wanted to have this sort of CQB. And I was initially inspired by a video I saw of the HK51, which if you like your HK guns, you'll appreciate. And it's a very short 308 carbine. If you love your real steel stuff, which I do, look on YouTube, look one up. The bursts of flames out the front and the heavy recoil from such a small package with such a big reciprocating mass is hilarious to watch. And that's what inspired this. I wanted something which was, going to kick really hard, but have a bit less weight to it. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is still a heavy item. The receivers are very thick. So realistically, it's not that light, but it's a hell of a lot lighter than it was. So you really do feel the recoil. So looking on the other side, now you can see the colour here is a little unusual. This again was inspired by another real steel rifle I saw. This, I think it was an MCX I saw that was painted this perfect pearl Sahara, I think they call it Sahara or Sahara beige, something like that. And yeah, I was really keen to try and replicate that if I could. So it is a pearlescent colour. I tried to get it in Cerakote, but it was just too difficult to locate. So this has just been sprayed. It's held up really well. There's like one little chip, which you can just about make out on the edge of this just here. The rest of it though has held up great. Even with optics on the rail, it's held up really good. So the PTS system, it's sort of a bit of a mishmash of lots of different things. It does have an element of Western Arms, and it's sort of a Western Arms style system. But in that typical KWA fashion, they sort of do their own thing. And from my understanding, they tried to replicate a lot of the internals with the same as what you would get in the real steel. Hey guys, so I've zoomed you in a little bit now so you can see it a bit better. So markings on the maten. You can see we have PTS for training and simulation use only. Model maten, caliber multi, and there is a serial number there. You can just about see it underneath this. It's actually quite a low serial number, this one, 1097. And these are legit serial numbers, apparently. You can see on here, manufactured in Taiwan by KWA. And again, this is a PTS item, but again, PTS is KWA. And on this side, we've got the Mega Arms logo, Mega here. Then you've got safe, fire, burst. And again, that is a 3-round burst on this. Magazines, as you can see, are huge on this, and they weigh an absolute ton. They are so incredibly heavy. In fact, let me get some scales so I can just demonstrate this to you. Let me just put this mammoth magazine on here. And you can see it's actually unable to read it. I didn't expect that. Let's try and place it more in the middle. No, it's not even going to read it. That it is heavy. Very, very heavy. So it would take up to 500 grams, these scales. So it's heavier than 500 grams, these magazines. They are extremely heavy. The magazines are a little unusual. They do have feeding issues. So if you do end up getting one of these or wanting one, the window in the front here needs modification. I'll show you what I mean. I have one which is unmodified. I have a freshly boxed magazine here. And you can see in the front here, this is how the feed lips usually are. And there is actually, you can just about see this, there's like a moulding mark around the outside. You actually have to file these out to that to make them feed correctly. Otherwise, you get all kinds of jams. Now, obviously, an AR-15 usually is in 223 or 5.56. These are 308 size, which is obviously a lot larger round. And I believe these magazines in airsoft form take about 25 BBs. You can squeeze 26 in, I believe. Nice thing on here is they do have separate feed lips which you can unscrew, which is good. Good luck trying to find them though. They're a bit hard to come by these days now. And also you have a dry fire switch which is on the top here, so you can press that down, which just you can see drops the feeding system down, so you can dry fire, and then up will lock it open. They fill from the bottom, obviously PTS logo on here. Be aware that KWA mags do fill extremely slowly. And the magazines in particular are a bit unusual in that they do have a very odd construction. So to take the shell out, we have to undo these 2 screws. Okay. You can see here, this is the construction of the magazine. Have these 3 screws. Now I'm not going to take it any further apart, but because this is so wide, what they've actually had to do here to stop the magazines bulging is there are actually little support bars fitted inside here, little brass bars. These screw through these to try and hold the magazines together, because under any kind of pressure these would bulge out. I know there are big caliber gas blowbacks available now, but when this was out, it was one of very few. So it wasn't a very popular thing to have a really big magazine. But trust me, this needs all the gas you can get into it. When I show you the bolt, you'll see exactly what I mean here. Pop the cap back on. There we go. So there's the magazines. Now, the gun itself, bolt, as you can see, is enormous. And obviously is cocked in the usual manner with the charging handle at the back. Spring is really, really tough. Trigger is interesting because it's this sort of drilled affair, which is sort of for competition use to try and lighten the trigger slightly. So trigger wise, we've got absolutely no play on this whatsoever. It is literally on the wall. A slight bit of smush and then it drops. Reset is very, very crisp. Slowly let it out. And we're literally talking like 2 mil. And again, you're right on the wall. There is nothing else there. It's just a slight bit of mush. And then it drops. It is a very, very nice trigger. Obviously, we've got burst mode as well. And the selector is really, really positive. Apart from in safe, going from fire to safe, you don't really feel anything. But you can hear it clicking, going between fire and burst. Other controls, obviously you've got your mag release on this side here as well, and the magazine spring is really tough as well. And you've also got your bolt release here as well. This is all shielded here, as you can see, and also same on here for the bolt release. Okay, so let's have a look at the lower first, and you can see here's our fire control group in here. Now, it is very unusual because we have got 3-round burst, and how it works is very similar to a Western Arms system. If you look at the hammer, it looks just like a normal Western Arms with a roller on it. And weirdly, you get this kind of slack where the hammer spring only sort of drops down that far, so the hammer is free to move here. So very unusual. And you've also got your burst fire mechanism on the back here. Another thing which is interesting is that it has this locking plate as well on the side, which actually replicates the real steel. How this works with holding all the fire control group and everything in. There's like slots in all the pins, and this plate swings down and locks everything in place, which is really interesting. You've got your valve knocker on the front here as well, and obviously it pokes out here when you pull the trigger. Obviously it drops forwards. You also have a valve locking system here, very much like some of the pistols we see. So if we cock the hammer again, you can see this actually stays forwards until this is depressed, and then that drops that back. And honestly, it's a really robust system. It works really, really well. Is it the most efficient system in the world? No. But does it work well? Yes, it does. Really, really well. Let's just check for what we've got that's steel. So we've got our magnet. So trigger is not steel. Selector is not steel. Mag catch is not steel. Bolt catch is steel. Pins, obviously, are steel. The main pins are obviously steel. Our bolt catch is interesting as well because it operates like so, lifts the whole thing up. It's actually really good as well. It does work fantastically well. Very rare do you get it where it doesn't hold back. Auto sear is steel. Hammer is steel. Valve knocker is steel. The valve locker is steel. Everything is steel in here, so there is absolutely nothing to wear out other than the trigger. But you can see hopefully inside here that there are actually lots of other sears and stuff going on in here which operate off of each other. So there isn't really anything that to wear out. And as far as I can tell, nothing really wears out at all here. So that's the lower. The other thing with the lower as well is the buffer. Now the buffer, there's a little tab in here which we press in, and then the buffer can be released. You can see it is a large buffer. It's plastic with a rubber end, and it's an exceptionally strong spring. There's a lot of grease on this because it is pretty noisy actually, and putting grease on it really quietens it down. I'm going to put this back in for now. There we go. So that's our lower. So let's look at the bit that most people are interested in, which is the bolt. Now the bolt carrier in this thing is absolutely enormous. You can see its physical size. This is a normal AR-15 style buffer tube size, and it's bulged out here because it is obviously for a 308 caliber. It's massive, and it is steel. All these bits are steel. So it's really, really, really strong. Really, really, really heavy as well. I mean, I'll check the weight on this one. Hopefully it will read it. So let's stand it on its end. 378 grams this bolt weighs. And trust me, you know it. It is exceptionally heavy. Very, very heavy. When it's cycling, it is extremely strong. In the side, we've got a little retainer, which just retains the nozzle. It's a very, very large nozzle. I've had people ask me whether or not this is the same size nozzle as you get in the normal 5.56 version of the Mega Arms. It's not. I think it's a 16mm. It's very, very large. Now, if we allow that to drop out, I can show you the only downside to this, and this is standard gbbr, it takes a cup style seal on the end here, which is trash. They go hard, they break apart, they're not very good. In fact, I had to order 3 different nozzles from gbbr to be able to get one that was okay. What's interesting as well is obviously you got this separated inlet. And also, if we look in the end here, you can see the nozzle is actually shaped to help it align. So as it comes back, it's sort of aligning itself. And you've got this bit at the top here to help it align as well. So it's a very, very good system, if not very gas efficient. In the top of the upper, obviously you've got your standard style charging handle, but this is specific to the maten, doesn't fit any other models. And then you've got your hop-up chamber in here, which is a standard KWA affair with this stupid tool. Not my most favourite, but you know, it is what it is. It's just what they come with. I haven't upgraded this one because I rarely shoot it anyway. So let's put this back together. Let's just test it out. Now, I'm not going to bother showing you this over the chrono, because over the chrono, this is actually quite disappointing. It's not very high. To actually dry fire, it is hilarious fun because the recoil is just insane. So obviously it goes back together like a normal AR. So let's zoom you out a bit and then let's do some dry firing, have some fun. Guys, so we've got a gassed up magazine in, and you can see straight away it locks back, no problem at all, so I'm going to hold the bolt catch in. We're in semi-auto. I mean, if you look at the muzzle here, it is extremely hard hitting. You can see the dust cover even bouncing around the recoil. It's hilarious of how tough that is. One of the issues with this is because of the weight of the bolt, it isn't very gas efficient. In fact, a lot of owners do run these HPA. And on HPA, I can imagine it would be an absolute hoot because, I mean, that much bolt mass and being able to crank the pressure up if you wanted to, that'd be hilarious. So let's stick it on 3-round bursts so you can see what that's like. Hold the bolt catch in again. So you can see it gasses out very, very quickly on 3-round burst. It's not very gas efficient on 3-round burst. Semi-auto is really where it's at. If you want to run this in bursts, you're kind of wasting your time a little. So mag in, drop the bolt on burst. You can see just how much my hands are bouncing around on it. But it is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious to mess around with. Again, this really wasn't a review because this is so far removed from the original. Really, this is just a bit of a show you other things in my collection. If you'd like me to do a bit more of an in-depth review on this, then feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think of what I've done with it so far. I'm sure the purists out there would be absolutely devastated to see I've cut down a maten, especially as the parts are just impossible to get as well. But its current length that it was originally was just, you just couldn't do anything with it. It's just, even skirmishing was just too heavy. So this shortened version is just brilliant. I mean, I love it. So let me know in the comments what you think, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and here's to many more years to come.